are welcome to another enlightening story desk.
Nestled in the heart of Nigeria, surrounded by the lush greenery of towering palm trees and vibrant flora, lies the quaint village of Ajegunle. This picturesque village is cradled by rolling hills and crossed by a winding river that sparkles under the African sun. The people of Ajegunle are known for their warmth and hospitality, with a rich cultural tapestry that is woven into the fabric of their daily lives. The air is often filled with the rhythmic beat of drums and the melodious strains of traditional songs during numerous festivals that mark the agricultural seasons and significant life events. In this vibrant community, the Alobi family stands out, known not just for their significant wealth but also for their contributions to the village's welfare. Mr. and Mrs. Alobi, the patriarch and matriarch of the family, are respected elders whose wisdom and benevolence have guided many community projects, from building the local school to establishing the weekly market that brings traders from all over the region. Their three children, Kola, Bola, and Lola, are as different as can be, yet each remarkable in their own right. The dynamics among the siblings are complex. Kola, used to being the favored child, often assumes a position of authority over his sisters, who have alternately admired and resented him through the years. Bola, ever the peacemaker, seeks harmony and often mediates between Kola's authoritative tendencies and Lola's rebellious streak. Lola, meanwhile, cherishes her independence but finds herself often in conflict with Kola's control. Together, they navigate the expectations of their heritage and the modern ambitions they harbor, under the watchful eyes of their parents and the villagers who hold the Alobi family in high regard. The siblings' interactions with each other and the villagers are tinged with the undercurrents of their individual desires and the communal expectations, setting the stage for a compelling narrative of family, power, and betrayal. Growing up in the vibrant village of Ajegunle, the Alobi siblings were molded by their unique experiences within their family and the larger community. Their upbringing was steeped in a culture that revered tradition and valued the intricate relationships that held their community together. Kola, the eldest at 35, is strikingly handsome with a commanding presence that captures attention wherever he goes. His deep voice and charismatic manner have made him a popular figure, though his smooth demeanor masks a cunning and ambitious nature. Kola dresses in finely tailored traditional outfits, his style a testament to both his taste and his status. Kola, born into the privilege of being the first son, was regarded as the heir apparent to his father's considerable legacy. From a young age, he was included in important meetings and consultations that were part of his father's many community projects. This early exposure imbued him with a sharp acumen for business and politics but also seeded a calculating and manipulative side that he masked with charm. His father's pride in his abilities was evident, often openly praising Kola during community gatherings, which while boosting Kola's confidence, inadvertently instilled a sense of entitlement and superiority in him. As Kola grew, so did his cunning. He learned to shape his words and actions to gain favor and manipulate outcomes subtly. He was seen by the villagers as a future leader, echoing his father's charisma. However, behind closed doors, Kola's manipulative tendencies would sometimes surface, particularly in how he managed to sway his parents to see his perspective, often at the expense of his sister's wishes. Bola, the middle child at 33, has a gentle beauty and a serene quality that endears her to everyone. Her kindness and selflessness are her defining traits. She is often seen helping out at the community clinic or teaching young children at the village school. Bola's traditional attire is always simple yet elegant, her quiet grace making her a beloved figure in the village. Bola emerged as the caretaker and mediator of the family. Witnessing her older brother's often overt favoritism, she cultivated a sense of kindness that became both a shield and a tool. Bola's empathy was not just confined to her family, she extended her care to the elderly and sick in the village, earning her a reputation for selflessness. Her parents appreciated her quiet, supportive nature, but in a tradition that valued leadership and assertiveness as seen in Kola, Bola's contributions often received less recognition, which she accepted with grace, though it did not escape her notice. This discrepancy in parental attention did not elude the village's keen observation. While they adored Bola for her altruism, many elders quietly disapproved of the unequal praise bestowed upon Kola by his parents, noting that true leadership involved both strength and compassion, qualities that Bola demonstrated in abundance. The youngest, Lola, at 28, is a vibrant and spirited woman with an independent streak that sets her apart. Her fiery personality is mirrored in her bold fashion choices, often mixing traditional fabrics with modern styles. Lola's striking features and lively expressions reflect her passionate nature, and she is known for her advocacy for women's rights and education in the village. Lola grew up in the shadow of her dominant brother and her peacekeeping sister. Her fiery independence was forged in minor rebellions. Lola's determination to carve out her own path was both admired and criticized in the village. Younger villagers saw her as a role model for modernity and feminism, while the older generation viewed her choices as too radical, straying too far from tradition. Her independence was often a point of contention at home, especially with Kola, who viewed her actions as challenges to his authority. Their confrontations were frequent and heated, with Bola often stepping in to diffuse the tension. Lola's relationship with her parents was complex. They were proud of her achievements yet wary of her unconventional methods and often expressed their concerns in private, which Lola knew and resented. The villagers' perception of the siblings was a mix of respect and skepticism. Kola was seen as a leader, but whispers of his manipulative tactics occasionally surfaced. Bola was beloved, her kindness making her the heart of the village, though many wished she was more assertive in claiming her due. Lola was a figure of modernity, inspiring some and unsettling others with her outspoken nature and progressive ideas. In the twilight of their lives, Mr. and Mrs. Alobi's health began a slow but irreversible decline, casting a shadow over the vibrant home that had once been filled with laughter and lively discussions. The patriarch, once a robust leader of the village, now found his vigor sapped by age and illness, spending more days confined indoors than out in the community he loved. Mrs. Alobi, ever the matriarch with a stern yet loving hand, also succumbed to frailty, her once sharp gaze softened by time. This inevitable shift brought not just a physical change to the household but also a poignant reminder of the responsibilities that would soon fall to the next generation. Amid this somber reality, the task of planning for the future of the Alobi estate became urgent. The parents, with decades of wisdom between them, made the decision to divide their assets equally among Kola, Bola, and Lola. They hoped this arrangement would ensure fairness and maintain harmony among their children after they were gone. A family lawyer, long trusted by the Alobi family, was summoned to draft the will according to their wishes, ensuring each sibling received an equal share of both wealth and responsibility. The reading of the will, however, came under more somber circumstances than any had anticipated. After a brief illness that took a severe turn, both Mr. and Mrs. Alobi passed away within days of each other, leaving the village and their children in mourning. The legacy of the couple was palpable as villagers poured into their home, offering condolences and recounting tales of the couple's generosity and leadership. When the time came to read the will, the family gathered in the grand living room of their ancestral home, a room that echoed with the remnants of many family celebrations and serious discussions. The lawyer, a solemn figure in the midst of the grieving family, began reading the contents of the will. Each sibling listened intently, a mix of grief and anticipation marking their expressions. The will specified that while the monetary assets and various smaller properties were to be divided equally, the main estate, a large expanse of land with the family home, was to be left in the control of the eldest, Kola. His responsibility was to manage the estate and report its status and any profits from it back to his sisters every 6 months. This decision was rooted in traditional values where the eldest male often took over the family's reins, but it was a point of contention that would later fuel disputes. Kola, sensing both the opportunity and the burden this responsibility presented, addressed his sisters with a carefully structured argument. He spoke of continuity and stability, emphasizing his close relationship with their father and how he had been groomed to manage their affairs. "I know this is what father would have wanted," Kola asserted with a tone of conviction, appealing to the emotional and traditional values they all held dear. "I promise to honor our family legacy and safeguard our future." Bola and Lola, still reeling from their parents' sudden departure and overwhelmed by the gravity of their loss, found themselves acquiescing to Kola's proposal. Bola's kindness and her desire to maintain family unity made her reluctant to challenge her brother openly, even though she harbored reservations about the arrangement. Lola, fiery and independent, felt a sting of dissent but was constrained by her own uncertainty about challenging the traditional frameworks their parents endorsed. As the lawyer finalized the paperwork, sealing the siblings' fate along with the envelopes containing the legal documents, a sense of foreboding settled over Bola and Lola. While the village continued to see the Alobi family as a pillar of strength and success, the sisters could not shake the feeling that entrusting the estate so completely to Kola might lead to unintended consequences. Their reluctance, however, was overshadowed by their grief and the deep-rooted desire to adhere to their parents' last wishes, setting the stage for future conflicts that would test the bonds of blood and trust. As the family lawyer concluded the reading of the will and neatly arranged the stack of documents on the polished mahogany table, an uneasy silence filled the room. The siblings exchanged glances, each processing the weight of their new roles. Kola, assuming his position as the head of the estate, was the first to break the silence. "Look, I know this is a lot to take in," Kola began, his voice steady and reassuring. "But I want you both to know that I am committed to managing our estate transparently and justly. I handle everything in accordance with what Father taught me and what he would have wanted." Bola, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, nodded slowly, her voice soft but filled with an undercurrent of concern. "Kola, I trust you, but this is a big responsibility. Our parents believed in you, and I want to believe in you too. Just, please, keep us involved. We're a family, and we should make decisions together." Lola, who had been quietly listening, her brow furrowed with skepticism, finally spoke. "Yes, Kola, we need to do this together. It's not just about following traditions or what was done in the past. We have to think about what's best for the estate and for us. I hope you truly intend to keep your promises." Kola, sensing the hesitation from his sisters, stood and approached them, his expression honest. "I understand your concerns, and I don't take this lightly. I promise to be transparent with both of you. Let's meet every 6 months to review the estate's operations. I'll prepare detailed reports, and we can discuss everything openly. Does that sound fair?" Bola, relieved by Kola's offer, smiled weakly and nodded. "Thank you, Kola. That does sound fair. It's what our parents would have wanted, for us to work together and look after each other." Lola, though still not fully convinced, agreed reluctantly. "All right, every 6 months. But I'm serious, Kola. We need to be honest and upfront with each other. No secrets." Kola, with a firm nod, extended his hands towards his sisters, who placed theirs in his. "No secrets," he affirmed, looking each of them in the eye. "We'll honor our parents' memory and manage their legacy as a united family." As they stood there, hands joined, a symbolic gesture of unity, the weight of their promise hung in the air. Bola and Lola hoped for the best, but deep down, they both felt the first stirrings of doubt, wondering if the power vested in Kola would indeed bring them together or slowly drive them apart. Their commitment to family unity was sincere, yet the future remained uncertain, shadowed by the complex dynamics of power, trust, and the looming potential for conflict. As Kola assumed control of the Alobi estate, the initial months seemed to affirm his capability to manage their inheritance effectively. Under his stewardship, the estate appeared to flourish, with the agricultural sectors reporting good harvest and the commercial properties generating steady income. However, beneath this veneer of prosperity, Kola's ambitions and lifestyle began to shift towards the extravagant. Kola's transformation became evident through a series of lavish expenditures. First came the purchase of a luxury car, rare and expensive, that stood out starkly against the modest vehicles typically seen in the village. Then, he began renovations on the family mansion, importing fine marbles and exotic woods. Each project was more opulent than the last, justified by Kola as necessary to maintain the family status and legacy in the eyes of the community. Bola and Lola initially trusted Kola's judgment, believing these signs of wealth might be a testament to their improved financial standing under his management. However, as Kola's displays of wealth became more frequent and excessive, doubts began to creep in. During one of their biannual meetings, Bola brought up her concerns after noticing discrepancies in the financial reports. "Kola, the accounts aren't adding up," Bola said cautiously, her eyes scanning the spreadsheet that laid bare the numbers that didn't seem to match the lavish reality. Where is the money for these renovations coming from? Kola, ever smooth and confident, waved off her concerns with a practiced smile. Bola, you worry too much. I'm investing in our future. All these upgrades will only increase the value of our properties. Trust me, I have it under control. Lola, who had been silently fuming, slammed her hand down on the table, causing the papers to flutter. This isn't just about trust, Kola. It's about transparency and responsibility. You're living like a king while the estate is barely breaking even. This isn't what our parents wanted. Kola's face hardened, his usual charm slipping momentarily. I'm doing what's best for the estate. You see, the profits will follow. As the sisters' suspicions deepened, so did the villagers' observations. Rumors began to circulate, fueled by the visible signs of wealth and the whispers from the estate's workers about late-night parties and expensive gatherings hosted by Kola. These stories reached the ears of the village elders, who asked in disapproval and concern. One afternoon, at the local market, a group of villagers gathered, discussing the latest extravagant party Kola had thrown. Did you see the lights up at the mansion last night? Like 1,000 stars had fallen on the earth, one villager remarked, his tone a mix of awe and disapproval. Yes, and meanwhile, the workers at the farm complain of delayed wages. Where is all this money coming from if not from the estate's pockets? Another chimed in, her voice laced with concern. It's not the Alobi way. His father was a man of the people, not of this excess, an elder added solemnly. The seeds of doubt planted in Bola and Lola's minds were watered by the villagers' uneasy gossip, growing into a forest of mistrust and betrayal. Their trust in Kola eroded with each luxurious purchase, each dodged question about finances. Finally, the sisters decided to confront Kola directly. They planned to meet him together, armed with their findings and fueled by a resolve to reclaim their parents' legacy from the grip of Kola's unchecked ambitions. This confrontation was not just about money, it was about honor, respect, and the preservation of their family's values. The tension between the siblings had reached a boiling point. As the sun set on a particularly sweltering day in Ajegunle, Bola and Lola prepared for what they knew would be a decisive confrontation with Kola. They gathered evidence of the mismanaged funds and Kola's extravagant expenses, compiling reports and accounts into a damning dossier. Their plan was to confront him after dinner, when the household was quiet, and the workers had retired for the day. That evening, the atmosphere in the grand dining hall was thick with unspoken words as they ate in silence. The clinking of cutlery on fine china echoed ominously, mirroring the tension among them. After the meal, Bola and Lola followed Kola to his study, where he usually retired to enjoy his evening brandy. Kola, we need to talk, Bola began, her voice steady but her hands trembling slightly as she held a stack of financial documents. We've been going over the estate accounts, and there are discrepancies that we can't ignore. Kola's expression remained unreadable as he took a slow sip of his brandy, then set the glass down with deliberate calmness. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation for whatever you think you've found, he replied smoothly, his tone dismissive. Lola, her patience fraying, slapped the documents down on his desk. This is not about explanations, Kola. It's about you using the estate like your personal bank account. Kola stood up abruptly, his chair scraping back against the floor. I have done nothing but work for the betterment of this estate. You have no idea what it takes to maintain our status in this community, he shot back, his composure beginning to crack. Bola took a step forward, her voice rising. Maintaining our status doesn't mean destroying everything our parents built. Look at these numbers, Kola. How can you justify this? The argument escalated quickly, voices raised and accusations flying. Suddenly, in a burst of rage, Kola lunged towards Bola, his arm swinging wildly. His fist connected with her shoulder, pushing her off balance. She stumbled backward, her head striking the hard edge of the wall. The dull thud of her skull against plaster seemed to echo through the room. Lola screamed, rushing to her sister's side as Bola slumped to the floor, unconscious. Kola, realizing what he had done, froze, his anger replaced by a flicker of horror. Bola. Bola, can you hear me? Lola cradled her sister's head in her lap, tears streaming down her face as she dialed for an ambulance. Her hands were shaking so violently that she could barely hold the phone. Within minutes, the night air was pierced by the wailing sirens of the ambulance. Medical personnel rushed into the house, quickly assessing Bola's condition and loading her onto a stretcher. Lola, accompanied by a stunned and silent caller, followed the ambulance to the hospital, her mind a whirlwind of fear and anger. Over the next 4 days, the hospital became a grim waiting room for the inevitable. Despite the doctor's best efforts, Bola's condition worsened due to complications from her head injury. Her moments of consciousness were fleeting and filled with confusion and pain. Lola stayed by her side, holding her hand, whispering words of love and encouragement, even as she felt the life slowly slip away from her sister. On the 4th night, with Lola at her bedside, Bola passed away. Her last moments were peaceful, a stark contrast to the violence that had ended her vibrant life. Kola, who had been waiting outside the hospital room, was overcome with guilt and grief. He had not intended for his anger to lead to such tragedy. The realization that his actions had directly caused his sister's death was a burden that would haunt him forever. Lola, filled with a profound grief and anger, resolved to seek justice for Bola. As she left the hospital that night, the weight of her sister's death solidified her resolve. The estate, their family's legacy, and now the memory of Bola, it all rested heavily on her shoulders, fueling her determination to confront and expose Kola's betrayal to the world. In the wake of Bola's tragic death, the air between Lola and Kola was charged with a volatile mix of grief and betrayal. As Lola returned to the estate from the hospital, her grief was overridden by a steely resolve. She was determined to hold Kola accountable for his actions and to reclaim the integrity of their family estate. The final confrontation took place in the same study where the initial argument had erupted. Lola entered the room where Kola was sitting, his head in his hands, looking up as she walked in. His eyes were red-rimmed, his usual composure shattered by the events that had unfolded. "You have destroyed everything, Kola," Lola said, her voice cold and steady. "Not just the estate's finances, but our family. Bola's blood is on your hands." Kola looked up at her, desperation and guilt twisting his features. "Lola, I never wanted this, I never meant for Bola to get hurt. Please, we can fix this together." "There's no together anymore, Kola. You chose this path," Lola retorted, her resolve hardening. "I will not let you drag our family's name further through the mud." Their argument escalated quickly, with Kola trying to approach Lola, pleading for forgiveness, and Lola stepping back, her stance firm. She dodged his attempts to embrace her, her own anger flaring as she pushed him away. "It ends now, Kola," she declared. "I'm taking control of the estate. Head of the family and the villagers will know of your betrayal." Kola's defeat was not just in his failed attempts to gain Lola's forgiveness but in the realization that he had lost the respect of his sister and would soon lose that of the entire community. Defeated, he slumped into a chair, his fight gone, as Lola walked out of the room to make her next moves. Lola wasted no time in exposing Kola's misdeeds. She gathered head of the family, the village elders, and prominent community members, presenting them with detailed accounts of the financial mismanagement and the events leading to Bola's death. The community was shocked and dismayed by the revelations, their disappointment in Kola palpable as they collectively condemned his actions and stripped him of any roles in village leadership. Asked him to take control of his own properties that was willed for him. In the weeks that followed, Lola worked diligently to stabilize the estate's finances and restore its operations to their former integrity. She established a scholarship in Bola's name at the local school, ensuring that her sister's legacy would live on through opportunities given to young girls to pursue their education. As Lola stood at the unveiling ceremony of the scholarship plaque, her eyes swept over the gathered crowd, feeling a bittersweet sense of accomplishment. She had fulfilled her promise to her sister and her parents, protecting the family's honor and Bola's memory. The estate and the village would recover in time, but the lessons of greed, betrayal, and the enduring strength of familial bonds would endure in the community's collective memory. In the months that followed the resolution of the estate crisis, the village of Ajegunle slowly began to heal from the wounds of betrayal and loss. Lola, now the respected head of the Alobi family, worked tirelessly to restore trust and ensure the prosperity of both the estate and the village. Her efforts to honor Bola's memory had a unifying effect on the community, reminding everyone of the values that had once made their village strong. As life returned to normal, the story of the Alobi siblings became a cautionary tale recounted by the village elders. One evening, under the expansive African sky, an elder gathered the children around the flickering light of a campfire and began to weave the tale into a moral lesson. Long ago, the Alobi family faced a great turmoil. The elder started, his voice deep and resonant. Kola, blinded by greed, nearly destroyed what generations had built. But it was the strength of family bonds, the courage of his sisters, especially Lola, that saved their legacy. He looked into the attentive eyes of the children. Remember, little ones, greed can tarnish the richest of treasures. But as long as we hold on to each other, respect, and protect our bonds, no misfortune is too great to overcome. The fire crackled as the children nodded, the moral taking root in their hearts, a timeless lesson learned from the past, carried forward into their future.
This is the end of this amazing story. I kindly ask for your support in subscribing, sharing, and liking my YouTube channel. By subscribing, you will stay updated on all my latest content. Every subscriber, share, and like helps me to reach a larger audience and continue pursuing my passion for creating content. Your support means everything to me, and I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you who takes time to subscribe, share, and like my YouTube channel. Thank you for helping me on this journey, and I look forward to sharing more exciting content with you all in the future. Let's grow together and make great things happen.